she became the most influential woman in television history. A billionaire who could turn unknown authors into bestsellers overnight. A media empire builder whose voice reached presidents, celebrities, and millions of ordinary people searching for hope. For decades, the world saw a woman who seemed unstoppable, powerful, wise, and deeply in control of her destiny. But behind the influence, behind the billions, behind the carefully composed smile, lies a reality far more complicated than anyone expected. Because at 72 years old, the life of Oprah Winfrey is not just a story of triumph. It is also a story of sacrifice, exhaustion, loneliness, and questions that even unimaginable success could never fully answer. How does someone rise from unimaginable hardship to build one of the most powerful personal brands in modern history, only to discover that success carries a cost few people ever talk about? What does life really look like when the cameras turn off, the audience disappears, and the applause fades? And why do some people close to Oprah quietly say that the final chapters of her life may be the most emotionally complex she has ever faced? To understand the painful reality of Oprah Winfrey at 72, we have to go back to the beginning, to a childhood that seemed almost designed to break her before her life had even begun. Oprah Gail Winfrey entered the world in 1954 in the rural town of Kosciuszko, Mississippi, a place where poverty was not unusual but expected. Her mother was just a teenager when Oprah was born, working as a housemaid and struggling to survive in a world that offered very little opportunity. Her father, a soldier stationed elsewhere, was not present in those early months of her life. For the first years of her childhood, Oprah was raised primarily by her grandmother on a small farm. The conditions were harsh. The family had very little money. Oprah often wore dresses made from potato sacks because that was all they could afford. Other children laughed at her clothes. But despite the poverty, her grandmother recognized something unusual about the little girl in her care. Oprah learned to read before most children her age even knew their alphabet. The Bible became her first textbook, and the words inside those pages became a kind of escape from the harsh reality around her. But the fragile stability of those early years would not last. When Oprah was still very young, she was sent to live with her mother in Milwaukee. What followed was a period of her life she would later describe as deeply traumatic. At just 9 years old, Oprah was sexually abused by a relative. The abuse did not happen once. It continued over several years and involved multiple people who should have been trusted adults in her life. For a child, the confusion was overwhelming. The shame was suffocating. Like many victims of abuse, she believed it was somehow her fault. She carried that secret alone. By the time she was 14, the emotional weight of those experiences had already shaped the way she saw the world and herself. That same year, Oprah became pregnant. The baby was born prematurely and died shortly after birth. It was a tragedy layered on top of trauma, and for years, she believed it was punishment for something she had done wrong. Looking back later in life, Oprah would say that moment marked one of the darkest chapters of her existence. It was the point where the pain of her childhood collided with the terrifying uncertainty of her future. But it was also the moment that forced a change. Her father, Vernon Winfrey, brought her to Nashville and imposed strict rules on her life. He demanded discipline, education, and structure. At first, it felt suffocating. But over time, that structure became the foundation that allowed Oprah to rebuild herself, began noticing her extraordinary ability to communicate. She spoke with clarity, emotion, and conviction that seemed far beyond her age. Speech competitions became her outlet. Debate clubs became her stage. And for the first time in her life, Oprah discovered something powerful. People were willing to listen to her. That discovery would change everything. At just 17 years old, Oprah began working in radio while still in high school. Her voice, warm and expressive, connected instantly with audiences. Soon she was reading news on local radio broadcasts. Not long after that, television stations began noticing the young woman with a remarkable ability to speak directly to viewers' emotions. By 19, Oprah became one of the youngest news anchors in Nashville. It should have been the beginning of an easy success story, but the truth was far more complicated. Television executives often criticized her for being too emotional. Traditional news anchors were expected to remain detached, almost robotic. Oprah could not do that. When covering tragic stories, she felt the pain of the people involved. Producers told her she needed to change. Eventually, she was removed from the traditional news desk and reassigned to a daytime talk show in Baltimore, a move many in the industry considered a demotion. At the time, Oprah felt humiliated, but that moment of rejection turned out to be the turning point of her entire career. On the talk show, she was no longer forced to suppress her emotions. She could connect with guests, laugh with them, cry with them, and share their experiences openly. Audiences loved it. Her authenticity became her greatest strength. And in 1984, that authenticity brought her to Chicago to host a struggling program called AM Chicago. What happened next changed television history. Within months, the show skyrocketed in ratings. Viewers were drawn to Oprah's unique ability to make conversations feel deeply personal and emotionally honest. By 1986, the program was renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show and launched nationwide. It quickly became the most watched daytime talk show in America. For 25 years, Oprah dominated television in a way no other host ever had. Her influence stretched far beyond entertainment. When she recommended a book, it became an instant bestseller. When she spoke about social issues, national conversations shifted. Her personal brand became one of the most powerful forces in media. By 2003, Oprah Winfrey officially became the first Black female billionaire in history. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate American success story. But success, as Oprah would later admit, did not erase the scars of her past. In fact, in some ways, it magnified them. For years, she struggled with public scrutiny over her weight. Tabloids treated her body like a public spectacle, analyzing every pound gained or lost. Behind those struggles was a deeper truth. Oprah rarely discussed publicly for decades. Food had become a coping mechanism, a way to numb emotional pain that had never fully healed. Even at the height of her fame, she often felt deeply isolated. Millions of people believed they knew Oprah because they watched her every day on television. But very few people actually knew her life beyond the spotlight. Her long-term relationship with Stedman Graham became another topic of endless public speculation. The two remained together for decades, but never married. Oprah later explained that her life and career demanded a level of independence that traditional marriage might not have allowed. But independence can sometimes come with its own form of loneliness. As the years passed, Oprah's empire expanded far beyond television. She built production companies, magazines, philanthropic foundations, and eventually her own television network. But not every venture succeeded. The launch of the Oprah Winfrey Network, known as OWN, became one of the most stressful periods of her career. Early ratings struggled, and the network reportedly lost hundreds of millions of dollars in its first years. For someone who had spent decades succeeding at nearly everything she touched, the experience was deeply humbling. She later admitted that during those years, she questioned whether she had made a catastrophic mistake. Yet once again, persistence carried her forward. The network eventually stabilized, but the experience changed her perspective on success. It reminded her that even legends can fail. Today, at 72, Oprah Winfrey lives a life most people could never imagine. Her properties span multiple states. Her net worth reaches billions. Her influence still touches politics, culture, education, and philanthropy around the world. But the reality of life at this stage is quieter. The relentless schedule that once defined her career has slowed. The daily television spotlight is gone. The empire continues, but it no longer requires the same exhausting pace. And with that quiet comes reflection. Oprah has spoken openly about the complex emotions that come with looking back on such an extraordinary life. She has donated hundreds of millions of dollars to educational causes, particularly supporting young girls who face the same disadvantages she once experienced. In many ways, those philanthropic efforts represent the legacy she cares about most. Not the ratings, not the wealth, but the lives she helped change. Yet even with all that impact, Oprah has admitted something that surprises many people. Success did not eliminate loneliness. The little girl who once wondered if she mattered still exists somewhere inside the billionaire media icon. Her story is not just about wealth or fame. Is about resilience. It is about the invisible scars people carry even when the world sees only their victories. Because Oprah Winfrey's life reveals a truth that often gets lost in the celebration of success. Achievement can change your circumstances. It can build empires, create influence, and transform history. But it cannot erase the experiences that shaped you. At 72 years old, Oprah Winfrey remains one of the most influential figures of the modern era. A survivor of childhood trauma who transformed her voice into a force that changed culture itself. Her legacy is not perfection. It is perseverance. It is the refusal to allow the worst chapters of a life story to define the ending. And perhaps the most powerful lesson her journey offers is this: the world often celebrates the success of extraordinary people, but it rarely understands the price they paid to reach the summit. So, the real question her life leaves behind is not how she became powerful. The real question is whether any level of success can truly heal the wounds that shaped us. If this story made you see Oprah's journey differently, share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe, because behind every legend is a story the world rarely hears. And sometimes those hidden stories are the ones that matter most.